Alright, so welcome back. This is Rapid Takes, and this time we're going to be talking about Street Fighter 6. I have Mike with me, and he's going to be asking me some questions about my experience with the game. Mike, you're free to start.
Alright, yep. So, just to start off here with this first question, even though it's a well-known game, we always have some newcomers. Could you guys tell us about the game, genre, developer, publisher, and pretty much the general concept too?
So, this is Street Fighter 6, pretty much the grandfather of all fighting games. This is a fighting game. I don't want to confuse anyone who doesn't know, but yeah, this is a fighting game from Capcom, who is the developer and publisher of this game. And yeah, this is the sixth entry in a very long-running franchise.
Okay, so I know this game has a story mode, is that correct?
I wouldn't really call it a story mode. It's more like it's more like a campaign. It has a campaign, but I wouldn't call it like a traditional story mode.
Mm-hmm. And how long is it, would you say? How much time did you put into it?
I actually didn't finish it. I only put like a few hours into it, and then I ran into a brick wall and I got bored, and I was like, yeah, fuck this.
And what platform are you playing on?
PC.
Okay. Are you using a DualShock controller?
I used a DualSense, PlayStation 5 DualSense controller, and I also played a lot of this on the Steam Deck as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
All right. So moving on to our next question, how much content is in this game?
There's quite a bit. You have an arcade mode, which isn't very long. There's not much to the arcade. It's just like 5 battles, and then you have like a special battle in between for each character or whatever, regardless of the character you choose. So there's not much to the arcade mode. You have your online modes, which is your ranked, your player match modes, and then there's like an online hub as well where you can like roam around with your character, your created character, and interact with other players online. And they have different servers from around the world, and you just enter a server, go into a room, and do whatever you want to do in the online hub. There's also gameplay modes, or I wouldn't really. When I say gameplay modes, I mean like match types. There's a few different match types where you can there's a particular focus as far as like what the objective is, and the first player to reach said objective wins the round, and then you can play either against another player via the online hub for those special match types, or you can play against the CPU, and you can access those modes in the in like a separate menu, offline menu, or you can access them from the online hub. And then you also have the single player campaign, where you take your created character. You can either like build them up through the build them up in the campaign, and then you can also take them into the online hub and fight. And there's like a leveling system similar to an RPG. So there's quite a bit of content. The game has more content than Street Fighter 5 had, but it's not like, I wouldn't say it's on the level of something like Mortal Kombat or Injustice. So.
Okay. Now, how do you feel about the overall gameplay? Do you feel like the characters are balanced?
Well, Street Fighter in general, I think, is fairly balanced. Some of the characters are a bit overpowered, which is an issue across pretty much every fighting game that exists. Some characters, like some of the grapple characters, are ridiculous. They got this one character, I think, who's like, her home country is from Russia or whatever. She's like a brute type with her character design, and she's a grapple character, and some of the grapples that character has is very overpowered. And I can't remember the name of the character off the top of my head, but the character has red hair, so whoever's watching the video, they probably know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's fairly balanced. But my issue, well, actually, I'll just save it for you'll probably ask me about that. So.
Real quick too, I almost forgot to ask: is there a strong roster, good amount of characters you can play at?
There's a decent starting roster, but obviously, this is a fighting game, modern fighting game, so they're going to release more characters over time. They just released not too long ago. They just released their first DLC character with Rashid, who was I think he was introduced in Street Fighter V. So, but I'm not a huge Street Fighter fan, so I'm probably not gonna partake too much in the DLC that's released for this.
Okay. So, what are your think are the strengths of the gameplay?
I would say the overall style of Street Fighter is very straightforward. It's a game that's all about spacing. It places emphasis on how close you are or how far you are from your opponent. Certain characters are matched up, match up well against certain characters, and then certain characters they have a hard time with other characters on the roster. The character that I played as is Cammy. She matches my play style. I usually like in a fighting game I play as characters that are very fast and quick. She's considered to be what's known as a rush down character. So she's all about speed, getting it, landing in those fast strikes. So she's not the strongest character on the roster, but she is. If you know how to use her, you can really like end the match quickly. So yeah, she was my go-to. And there are some characters that Cammy really struggles with, but for the most part, I didn't have too much of an issue playing as her, dealing with other characters on the roster. So
Okay. Now, what are some things you feel that really annoyed you in the game?
So one thing is Capcom, if you quit out of a match or if you just get disconnected, like if you have like a connection issue and that happens too many times, this is Capcom's way of dealing with rage quitters or whatever. The game will lock you out of online functionality for like a day, like literally like 24 hours. They did that with Street Fighter V. I think they started that in Street Fighter V, and they brought that shit over to Street Fighter 6, and that's just not a proper way of dealing with rage quitters.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't punish people who bought your game just because they quit out of a match or whatever, and you bar them from playing the online functionality of the game, which is the bulk of the game's content. So yeah, that's not a good way of dealing with that. They should have taken a cue from NetherRealm Studios to where if someone quits out of a match, they give the winner like a hilarious like win animation, and the losing player they get like a funny death animation, and they're automatically handed a win. So that's a good way of not pissing off your fan base.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't like the fact that they brought that shit over. Also, the online hub is a bit gratuitous. I get what the mentality was. Like they wanted a mode to where you can actually like interact with other players and whatnot, and it does work for the most part. But I prefer for something like a fighting game, I just prefer like a simple like online menu, like when you're just waiting in between matches instead of just roaming around and whatnot. And they do have that, but it's not really like a separate online menu.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that could have been handled better. And then another thing is the UI itself. Like they have a bunch of separate menus, and if you're trying to get to a certain menu, because you want like specific information on your stats, it can be a bit annoying to get to some of that stuff because of the way they set up the UI. So yeah, like it's the small things that really just like annoy me with the game, but nothing major, nothing too egregious again.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely understandable. Now, did you have any performance issues at all?
Oddly, no. No, I didn't have any issues. And when I say oddly, I mean because again, I played a lot of this on the Steam Deck. On my laptop, it was perfect performance. Steam Deck was actually fairly smooth. Obviously, the resolution wasn't anywhere near as high compared to my laptop, but yeah, the performance on the Steam Deck was very straightforward. So
Good to hear.
Yeah.
All right. And what do you think the developers could have done to improve the game overall?
I mean, they did a lot to improve it. I think they did enough to improve what's already there. Because this game, pretty much the entire game was one big response to Street Fighter V. Street Fighter V is like the worst game in the series. They really fucked up a lot with Street Fighter V, and this game was basically like a response to that game. They added an actual like some actual legitimate single player content that's relevant. They added in some of the classic Street Fighter games in here as well, with some of the classic modes. They added different match types with the special battle. They added they gave some of the characters, some of the original Street Fighter characters, like new makeovers and whatnot, that actually fits their personality, so it doesn't feel like you're just playing the same thing that we've seen already 1,000 times. Cammy is a perfect example. Her redesign is fantastic. They gave the game this bright look that has like a lot of personality, and the hip hop stuff that they added as far as like the music and whatnot goes, it actually fits the series. They did a great job there. I would say that the thing that could have been handled better would be the campaign. It's not bad, but I think the reason I got bored with it is that it does get really repetitive and gratuitous really fast. And that's ultimately why I put it down. I was like, yeah, this is just me doing the same shit over and over again. Also, and you asked me about performance earlier. That's the one area where playing on the Steam Deck, it did slow down a lot. Was playing through the campaign. Just yeah, pretty much every fight, like there was like a severe frame rate dive, and it seemed like the game was just playing in slow motion. That's how bad it got. I think it was like below 30 FPS. That's on the Steam. That's on the Steam Deck. That's not on my laptop. That's on the Steam Deck. So yeah, but I think that's the one area they really could have improved it was that, because they also have these other areas where you'll go and visit like another country, but it's not like an actual like full level. It's just like one small area that you can roam within, and it's like, yeah, that's kind of fucking lazy. It seemed like they rushed that to a certain extent. So, but yeah, overall, it's a huge improvement over Street Fighter V, I would say.
Okay, which leads to the big question: what are you giving this F through A?
I give it a solid B.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Would you recommend this game to other people?
I would, yes, but I wouldn't say for anyone who hasn't played this game, but you've played the older Street Fighter games, don't expect anything that different. It's largely the same experience as far as like the core gameplay. This is a Street Fighter game, so if you've played 4, if you've played 5, you expect pretty much the same thing here. Even with like some of the new mechanics that they added, particularly with the drive system, with the drive meter, which is a good mechanic, but you have players that'll spam that shit online and whatnot, and it's just another meter based mechanic. So I mean, it's nothing that's truly like new. It's just a better system than the V trigger shit that they had in Street Fighter V. So yeah, don't expect anything drastically different.
Okay. Yep, and that looks like all the questions I had for this rapid take. Now, was there anything else you wanted to add before we go?
Nope, that's it.
All right, perfect. Thanks for watching the video, guys.
All right, see you guys next time.
Cammy wins!